Okay. Mm-hmm. Welcome. My gosh. What is going on? Hmm. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Let's see. What are we thinking of? Oh, okay. Now I know where I'm at. I had to think for a minute. So I'm back already, and now I am live. Yes, I wanted to dive right on in. I'm talking about um, what like the connection in which the world works together. uh, the UN, United Nations, but I wanted to go all the way back to Canaan because what's so important to I think that either we don't realize or maybe we just didn't know, you know, that the promised land is made up of more than just two nations. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The promised land is made up of more than just two nations. Yeah, it's made up of. Hold on, I kind of like. Let me get comfy because I'm gonna be here for a while, and I could turn on a little bit of light. There it goes. Turn on some light. Oh, I don't want it to burn me too much. There we go. Got a little line there, but at least you can see me. I'm not too blinded. Okay, well, maybe I can correct it. I just don't want it up too. Still, I don't like that glare. I tried. Hi. I try to add a little light. I get better with the lighting on the next time. Hello. I just. Oh, wow. I just wanted to come in and say to everybody, you know, spiritually, remember, like in the land of Canaan, there's more than two nations there. There's more than just Israel per se. Israel becomes the house of Jacob, meaning all of the nations along the journey, even from Egypt, entered the land of Canaan. And that's why I wanted to use the symbol, the United Nations, because in a lot of ways, spiritually, the land of Canaan, which is where the house of Jacob joins uh, the people of Canaan, the Canaanites, it does speak volumes to the symbol of like for the ambitions of the UN, that would be United Nations. So I just wanted to kind of have a stream where I would dedicate to that and say that I say that in other streams. I know maybe people have heard me speak on this quite a bit when I'm describing Israel, like first of all, heading towards the land that is in store for them, but also how they felt about it. Specifically, how they felt about other peoples, nations joining them along the journey, and also Moses' role and how they, inquired into Moses about the situation, and Moses actually directly had to deal with it in cases where there are documented cases, I always like to revert to, I evoke Leviticus 24, where God has to directly intervene. Like like Moses actually has to convene with God and ask, okay, how do we handle situations such as xenophobia? Or because someone is different and intermarriages, how do we deal with that? And that is specifically dealt with to great detail. There's no what do you call it? There are no, what's the word that people use? There are no, it's not written in metaphor. There's no metaphors or nothing like that. It's just plainly written. And it tells you exactly how that was handled. And which, it's not even about that. That's not even my focus. My focus is that yes, there, it was united in that land, the land of promise, right? That the promised land, it was united. Thus, and everybody becomes, if you want to say, um, Abrahamic practicing, because the whole sole purpose of Israel going to that land is because Canaanites, it wasn't that they were enemies or enemies of God or just outright bad. Like, what makes one an enemy? Well, Canaan is actually a group of people who were not keeping Sabbath. Two things. They were not keeping Sabbath, the land was not keeping Sabbath, because the people who were not keeping Sabbath were not taking care of the land by way of the Sabbath, which means they were actually keeping Sabbath. If they were keeping Sabbath, of course, we already know. If you don't know, you'll know now. They are Semitic, meaning they're Semitic. That means that they are also, they may not have the title Israel. So Israel is Semitic, right? So it's Israel, Canaan, they're speaking the same language. They are Hebrew, Abrahamic. Okay. They are definitely Abrahamic. And then they become Israel. Israel joins Canaan, and then Canaan is engrafted into becoming, because Canaan is already, you have nations, right? They're not engrafted in Israel at all. But then they become engrafted, and by Moses assigns them to tribes, into tribes. So they get enveloped into tribes, becoming, making up the house of Jacob, enter into the promised land, led in by way of Joshua. Moses, remember, he goes to Mount Sinai to be with God. His journey had completed, and they thrive. And DNA, when they go to Canaan, today's archaeologists states that DNA more proves that there wasn't even a war. That, like they say, well, what's the Canaan, bad people, and Israel just obliterated them? No, they thrived and lived side by side, and actually still live there today by way of the Palestinians. But Palestinian is connected to the nations that actually enter into Israel, and then enter into Canaan. So, but they found five Palestinian, uh, ancient bodies intact, and were very sophisticated genetics, things like that. We're able to trace today's Palestinians who live there today, and other, if you want to say, nations around, surrounding nations that would be considered Muslim. They're Arab Muslim. That means they're Egypt. Tracing them right there along Israel in Canaan, ancient times. So, right, so that is so beautiful how that's laid out. So, and also they were farmers. So they found a very integrated city they found not only that they found, well, they know Canaan, but they found it's a city, and it's integrated. And of course, if it's integrated, that means there are many groups, and even some groups that came in through the north. That's where you get the sojourners, the strangers, that is referenced. Like what happens when an outsider or a sojourner comes. There's a difference between one who sojourns and one who tabernacles. Canaan were stated with tabernacle with Israel, and that is through handed down by way of Noah to Ham. And there's a whole story about that. I mean, if I don't know, do I need to tell you that story? I always talk about it. People get that story, so they twist that story so badly. Um, like when you read it, when you read from the Hebrew version, Ham, okay, so Ham walks in. His dad Noah has gotten a hold of. He figured out how to. Of course, everybody knows this part. How to create wine, from the vines. And so he's sprawled out, and he is, unclothed, as they say. That part is true. But it was more like Ham walks in, sees his dad. He goes and Ham takes responsibility and accountability. Ham is described as being the youngest, by the way. He goes and collects his two brothers. It's worded, he gives instruction to his brothers to not only walk backwards, like he goes and informs them, both of them, then he has them walk backwards, and he has at either end them holding a sort of like a covering, a blanket, and he has them guiding them. And so then they covered it, they covered up their dad under Ham's instruction. And then their dad Noah asks, who took care of me last night? And he's speaking from, this is where people are miscalculate. They're not reading it as from a dad, like and son conversation. In other words, it's a group. You have a group of sons, and the dad, like any parent, is going to ask, who took care of me last night? Because like when I fell a slumber, I was, this is not the way I remember it. I know I didn't cover myself. Oh, so then it was, son, you take care of. He knows his son. He knows his son through and through. He's like, you're gonna tabernacle and take care of your brothers. That is the heart of a dad speaking to the heart and soul and mind of a son. And it's like, you're always going to be there taking care of your brothers. And, and as parents say, my youngest one, like, you see that my youngest one, it does everything my eldest one says. I'm trying to get him out of that habit. It's like it's a curse, you know, like, it's like, son, why do you always listen to him? You don't have to. You don't have to do it. Did you want to do it? It's like, don't let them peer pressure you into doing things. So it's more like a real, I think people miss that. They're looking for like dark, like mysteries, like hidden meanings and things. And there's just it just that it's described in a very different way when you read it from Hebrew into English. That means it's gonna be using exact words, broken English, and yeah, that he actually instructs, which I've gone over that. I've done lives over it, and we walk like step by step by step. So what does that mean? He's referencing him, and then by way of his lineage, Ham's lineage, his children, which would be Canaan. So Canaan, that's where they get their Semitic lineage from, is in of course, the land of Canaan, the city of Canaan, the Canaanites. And thus, the word that is used by in the from Noah to Ham is the word. It says that not you will be cursed, and no, it says that you will tabernacle, which means worship. A tabernacle is a structure where God is worshipped. To tabernacle means to worship in the place where God resides, and then serve. So then serve as in the term serve meaning you like when you say I'm a servant to the public. I'm a spiritual servant. So I serve people's spirituality. You may serve like you as a vendor. You serve your guests at your events. So that's the context and what it meant. And so all I'm saying is there's more there are deep ties that are described, and they use words rather than using words as like slave or servant to serve. He corrects, he says not that you're going to make serve as make servants serve as servants, rather hired ones, in one sentence. So then it's the other pieces goes like this. It says so these are so everybody's hired, well, first of all, and also they're hired within the like during the 49 years. Jubilee means they've incorporated, and now they work for themselves solely, but they were actually being paid all through and through. The other terms they use, rather than somebody like they don't use enemy is nowhere to be found. Disgruntled, frenemy, never to be found. Nothing, not even described. They use they use three words. They use brother, they use companion, and they use associate. So these are three terms that are actually applied throughout, meaning we're all working together. We're even partners. We're companions, moreover. And that's used a few, like those words are not just not interchangeably, but in unison and at various times throughout the passage that you might not find in the current, state of the material, the content. They must be reading my mind. Okay, I like pecan. This is a pecan, I think caramel something. Yeah, like they nailed that. If we're not in sync, I don't know. Yeah, because I was thinking, I was like pecan, mm, a roasted pecan. Yeah, that's it. Something like a roasted pecan caramel or another. It's delicious. The moment I saw it, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get two of those. That's it. Now I tasted it, I was like, nah. No, it's like then I would only have one flavor. I would be no choice. So I said, yeah, I'm gonna get one and just be relaxed. Yeah. So I'm already sipping on that. I'm answering questions. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. For joining in and coming in to say hi. I'm actually working. I've been very busy this morning. I am working with two major companies, and it's going well. This is my final day of sort of like, or actually, my final few days from the new company to kind of take a break and then have to really hit hard. With that one. So it's getting ready to take off. I got to do a lot of writing ahead of me. I've been thinking about it all night. How I'm gonna have to because I have like it's like they are highly supportive, like 1,000%, and I'm very much integrated, and they're so advanced. Oh my gosh, they're already having AI, you know, uh, abilities. Yeah. And then, of course, um, Like it's everything that all the missing pieces that make it work. Other companies like we don't need you to do a thing. You don't need to write. You don't need to like this one. Like you gotta be able to write. Yep, you gotta write, and then not only that, some people say, oh, you can like write to them, and mine you can write. I can write or audio to you, and I can write you at least anytime I like. Things like that. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, so I gotta like really get deeply involved, like with clients on in that front, which I'm going to do this week. So I'm taking the day and relaxing from it. I had a successful past 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, and then I'll be back with them in the weekend. And then, of course, the one that's from the UK, I'm aligned with them right now. So let me make sure. Yeah, they can get through. Let me make sure, absolutely make sure. I did step away and I did click everything, but let me make sure. Yep, everything is fine. They can get through. All right, so enough of that. So yeah, I am working. So I'm out here just taking a break. No, I'm working. Um, I don't know what you all are saying in the chat. I'm almost scared to look. I don't know because you all. I'm not even gonna look. No, no, know this. My channel is the psychic space. You all, don't be greedy. There are other spaces to go get your needs met, and I'll leave it there. All right. Okay, so, but anyway, I know I'm going to be dealing with that a lot because the transference comes through from my clients, my paying clients. So yeah, there's no doubt that transference sometimes may come through, but know this: it's not you don't have an option. If you have an option, or you think you've been given an option, uh, through the power invested in me, I have taken away that option. I have taken away your options. You no longer have a choice. So yeah, but you do have a choice to come and say hello. You can interact with the chat. You can speak, but I will not allow anyone to deviate from my work. So that is off limits. And I'm not even asking you to respect it. You don't have to respect it, but you know what I said. And that's it. I don't want to like burden you today because I can go on and on and on about how much power that and weight that I have on my end. I'm super supported. I am renowned. I work under famous psychics. I'm highly independent. What I say, I get it. And I am Isaiah, the angel, adorable, the independent, the mature one. I am Papa Smurf, as they called me. I was the only one allowed to walk around the halls. I go sit with the teachers. I I carry my tarot cards with me, and all of my town, everywhere I go, they know I'm psychic. They know I am the phone psychic. That's what I do. That's phone psychic. That's what I do. So, and you know about my predictions. So there's no way I'm not going to be a derailed train wreck. You have no. By the way, when all those languages like words like troll and manipulate and what do you call it, gang stalking, all of those terms were pitched by in my circle. So yeah, so you will not be getting a pastor. I will not be your pastor. I'm online as well. I'm hearing how your pastor lets you do things with them. You will not be doing that here. Okay, and so I'm also not I'm not a counselor, though I have skills and education and to counseling, psychology, and metaphysics that is associated with my work as a psychic. My title is a psychic. And what else? What else? Oh, and I don't rely on anyone. So I don't rely on anyone for finances. So you will not be financing any of my agendas or anything planned that I've got because I don't rely on you in that way to support me. um, I'm more giving you value. I'm adding value to your life, and I'm not looking for anything in return. As the channel monetizes, I will offer services and also content in forms of writing, like books and things like that. So that's what this channel is. And even if this is not your cup of tea, if you are here, this is what you will experience. And so that's what, if it's not on the menu, that means you can't have it. If it's not on the menu, we don't just make it pop out of thin air. So relationships just don't pop out of thin air. And that's relationships of any kind. Thank you very much. So moving on. Um, all right. So, uh, okay, let me put, I'm gonna put a sentence, hold on, in the chat box. Hi, I only, I only will be sharing my experience and abundant knowledge about psychic and spiritual content, which is what this channel is about. Is about. Um, um, I hope that you're having an exceeding amazing day. I hope that everyone is having an exceeding day, exceedingly amazing day. Exclamation, something like that. Any red lines in here? Grammar might be messed up, but you got the point. There you go. There you go. There you go. All right. So there's my response. All right. So what else? What else? So oh yes, and I am a world-class psychic, of course. And I work with people from all over the world. I work with, right now. So there's there's an additional feature to my work. Like uh, now, I'm doing even video readings. I do video readings. I do chat readings. I do a lot of chat readings, and I also do phone readings. So those are the three ways. Oh, and I do messages. I got to do. In fact, I've got email readings already lined up that I've got to do over the next 24 hours. Well, and they give me plenty, like ample time to get that done as well. And I can choose whether to, write it out or I can audio. So I love that feature. That is amazing. I get to choose how I want to deliver the message. So that's it's just like they can ask the question and then I can just give them the information. But I have an option to. You would think, oh, you do like an email reading. Well, it's both. I can do that email reading and I can do audio. That's amazing. That's so cool. So it'd be like me, somebody saying, I want a reading, but I'm not, can you just do it and I'll not be present? And I'm like, yeah, do the reading, it's recorded, and you have it in your file. And I think I've already answered a few questions in written form. Yeah, yeah, I actually I have. I've answered like maybe two. Hmm. But anyway, back to what I'm talking about in my subject today. Oh, um, being that I am psychic, yes, at times I do, talk about psychic related things, readings and things like that. But right now, at the moment, I'm focused on my subject. And my subject, for this particular time, this stream, is about the promised land. It's about Canaan, and it's about people of that time period of Canaan. Many peoples or nations are linked, are grouped, and are together, are working together. So very diverse, I would say the land of Canaan became. So land of Canaan wasn't just Canaanite, it wasn't just Canaanite in Israel, it was Canaanite, Israel, and nations. And those are the terms that I use. So that means you mean the Bible or God addresses three groups of people, Trinity, right? The Trinity. It addresses Israel, the sons of Israel. It talks, of course, everybody, like Leviticus, all Levites, all of them. Then it talks with employers there, people who would be, employing people. It even talks, it bridges and it says, starts addressing Canaan and Canaan working with you to that you're not there, you're not allowed to allow them to let you cheat them. Basically, is what that's how the wording is. Um, it says not to allow one to make themselves a servant. So you can even if they wanted to. That's a powerful scripture, that piece of scripture. Even if a person wanted to, like some people are like, they would, how much better life would be if they would, if they could, if they did. That's even if well in Canaan's time, in that particular time, the command is you, uh, Israel specifically cannot is not supposed to, because they were servants in Egypt, so they don't go to Canaan and make Canaan serve as servants, and neither can Canaan also the same do that to Israel, and they cannot present themselves as a servant like that. They have to be paid. That is scripture, and or they were not or they're not allowed to work as a servant, as a serve and to serve as a servant. Also, they are not allowed to make other Canaans or relatives serve. Specifically, they use like an uncle and a nephew relationship, either vice versa, any dynamic, but they, right, cannot like, I'm gonna make my uncle do this, or I'm gonna, because I inherited the estate, or my uncle cannot make my nephew do this. And in fact, you're to raise the sons and daughters, like to have to go out there and get money, get paid. In fact, and not set them up to where they are just working and not getting anything in return. And then he addresses the nations and says, Israel, you come from there. You know what it was about to be in place of service. So you are as the nations with you, and so that means all of everything that is agreed upon with the Israel and Canaan, the nations also got. And then with a little telling reminder, like like maybe twice, I think, that reminding Israel, once upon a time, this was you. Like you're in a situation. So and you're there now. Like wherever they are, that's where you are. Wherever pole grading pole they're at, you're that too. That was you before. So don't make them to be one now. Don't replace the people who did it to you. Right. So, which led to me wanting to talk about, the current stuff we've got going on. So, um, I love the idea. Like when I released this, well, when I said I was going to go live about this, I love the idea that it's like Netanyahu, kind of, became a little bit more open. Now that he's discussing ceasefire, for example, like with Lebanon. So it's a potential conversation for peace talks. It sounds like, people are pulling that way. I don't trust when they say other people are into it and they believe that they kind of cornered, in a good way. I think they said they cornered kind of Iran to kind of have to, what other more chips do they have to play, you know, and so that not to use the, like you say, well, what more can they do to the people of Gaza, right? But not to use Gazanians, Palestinians, by the way, who are actually part of the house of Jacob. But we know, but of course, they are Muslim. And in fact, their country is 98% Muslim. They are Muslim, period. They're Arab, meaning that they are from the nations. They weren't Canaanites themselves, the native Canaanites. They were engrafted in with Israel and came in. And that's their lineage, is being Semitic. But Arab already state that they're Semitic by way of, we know, you heard me talk about Ishmael. Ishmael, of course, what makes him Semitic is not only by birth, but by birthright, because Abraham he took his first son, which is Ishmael, circumcised him. Ishmael was in front of all the other sons, including the son he has with Sarah, Israel, and circumcises them, you know, and as the tradition, and gave the blessing and everything. So they also are Israel. They are Israel. So standing for Palestine. So when you speaking from the Abrahamic mindset, when you stand with Palestine, you're standing with Israel. When you're standing with Israel, you're standing with all of Israel. That includes the Palestinian there, because it's in their. They may not claim it. They may, the modern times, they may have, updated with this other book, but even their Quran, though it has different varying viewpoints, it is, what makes the Quran would not be the Quran if it did not have both Old and New Testament. It goes with it. It comes with the package, more or less. So that might be different. They may have made some adjustments and changes, but they are still, and they still live there. By the way, not only are they there, but they still live there. And the other thing about Canaan, people talk about Canaan and the different. Oh man, they look at Canaan and they compare it to like a blasphemous, like a cult culture of group of people like Babylonians, like Babylon. They think Canaan, Babylon, but that's not true. The names, the many names that people say are many, like the, what do you call it, the pantheon of God, in the from the Hebrew to English, God, the same God, the very first God, the God who's mentioned as in Yahweh, Jehovah, Yahweh, etc., is called by these names. So in like in Leviticus, the God that Israel that brings Israel and the nations into the land of Canaan, the promised land, the same God that they're acknowledging, who is El. So when they're tabernacling with their brothers and companions and associates, as per what it states in the book of Leviticus, and they say that he's referred to as Yahweh, Elohim, El, all those three names. I know it sounds like a trinity, where you got here Yahweh, you got Elohim, you got El, but no, it's Yahweh, and he makes it very clear that he is Elohim, and there are no other Elohim. That's, first of all, that is a script. And then the other one is that, so the other one is that the L, which is that's Canaan, right? So, mm-hmm. So yes, now because remember they had okay, there are many names, right? And there may be many imagery, like we have many images and icons that depict Mary and the Lady of Fatima. She wears different colors, what it means, things like that. And also depictions of you got the baby Christ, you got a middle-aged Christ, you got an ascended Christ, different imagery. So rather than thinking of it as a pantheon, and like you do certain blessings for different reasons. They are Semitic, which means that they originally are Noah Abrahamic. Noah, actually, we go further back than even Abrahamic. They're talking about Noah. They go all the way back to Noah. Tradition, tradition of being Semitic. And that's why the very same names that are you describe as Canaan as part of like a pantheon, that's why those very same names are utilized in Judaism today and also then because they meant the same thing. They meant God when they talked about whatever El Shaddai. Every one of these names are as the believers are traversing. God is earning all of these names. These are earned titles. El Shaddai is a title. So in other names. So the reason why I describe this way is because this speaks to the tension or the lack thereof. There was just no tension there. There are no tension, and this represents that um, if they can do it, they can work through things. Then obviously, the people today can work through things. So that is my point. That's my point. So the UN, United Nations, which I believe is established through, if I'm not mistaken, let me make sure. Yeah, United Nations is formed by by under a democratic presidency. They did get that right. 1945, October 24th, 1945. October 24 would be Scorpio. It would fall under Scorpio, wouldn't it? Let's look at the new dates to see. I think that would be Libra, actually, even moreover, which is about people. People. Mm-hmm. Uh, nope, it's Scorpio in either way. Okay, let me make sure. Let me double down on that. Due date. Yeah. Virgo. I was wrong. Well, it depends. The old date is Scorpio, and the new one is let me make sure. Is Virgo. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And which is very calculated. Okay, I got it. Okay, let me see. So 1945 presidency. Let's see. Who would have been Roosevelt, President Franklin D. Roosevelt. History of the United Nations. 1944 to 1945, U.S. President D. Roosevelt pushed as his highest, the United Nations, it has its origins, yes, the World War II, the beginning of declarations of things like that. Okay, pushed priority establishment of the United Nations to replace the League of Nations. Okay, Roosevelt planned that it would be controlled by the United States, Soviet Union, United Kingdom, and China. He expected this four big four would result like major problems. It was for the idea of major problems so that nations could come together, find resolution. Since then, it's, of course, it expanded, of course, to becoming international body. So that means now other nations are a part of it. Hmm. So that was his intention, to keep the tension down where everybody can come and talk, especially the big swingers. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So there you go. So that is a little bit of a brief. Anybody can find that out. I just said I'm claircognizant, so I kind of knew where to go to find my piece of information, make peace with it. I knew that the League of Nations was something. I mean, or yeah, that was something that. Okay, so when I was reading about the League of Nations, it was a really great idea, but the Republicans like didn't want it because it was the way that it was implemented, and plus they came in and made a lot of changes, and the United Nations is much more better because it removes that that politic, because the League of Nations, America could not participate completely in it because there were some things that happened with uh, like uh, like um, like some bridges were burned about not being invited to the Paris peace talks, uh, and the Republicans, the Democrats didn't invite; they just kind of just did it, and so it was like, well, if you're not going to support this, then I'm not going to do this, even if it means making helping bringing the world together, um, in peace talks. So they said that. Well, I just read it. Kind of confirmation for me is that yeah, it was the League of Nations, but then it evolved to the UN, the United Nations. So yeah, that makes sense. There's that bridge. I knew that. I knew that. I just needed to. I wanted them. I needed to read it. So now I read it. There you go. Well, there I go. And yeah, that's an interesting story because he ends up that president was really counting um, on people to push for the League of Nations, and died behind it because he went on a trail to promote it because they were going to change it and basically burn out his ability to form the League of Nations. So he wanted to get everybody invested and involved, and people stoked in right wing fear, regardless of their party, um, said no thanks. So let me see. Let me make sure. That was in their time. Okay, so that would be Wilson. Okay, Woodrow. So at that time, so he's the one that did that one. But he said at that time, the biggest fear would have obviously would have been would have been Soviet Union and things like that. That fear right there, which is the same fear that we're kind of wrapped in right now. There are people who are wanting that old fear factor of like Russia nuclear World War Three, doomsday prophecies. But more and more, at least in Putin's era, that is something. Even though now I'm not just speaking from my know-it-all. The White House actually stated this last week that in other worlds, metaphysically, psychically, I picked up on it. Like there are no signs that Russia is leaning towards. Of course, I keep saying that. I've got lives that talk about. I said Putin is not interested in nuclear war. He may want the land. I'm not saying he care about people, but he want people to boss on. And I said it so many times throughout so many lives, and yeah, it's playing out. So you know regardless, also I talked about the trifecta. I actually used the term. In fact, I have the thumbnail where you can, And I compare the trifecta to the Trinity. People say, what is a Trinity? There's no such thing as a Trinity. So I'm like, now you know what a trifecta is. Now you're going to know what a Trinity, now you'll understand better what a Trinity is. Like, now do you understand what a Trinity is? Now that you know what a trifecta is? Okay. hmm So, oh my gosh, it's such a beautiful day. Such a beautiful day. So I just wanted to come in and let people, everybody know, everybody get a feeling that, we're all together, regardless of where you're from, the nation, and there's so much to be grateful for, so much to be thankful for. Of course, I've got my ideas. Well, they're not ideas, but the information that I know with the very first president George Washington. This would be to well, not today. He would have did it on the 26th, his day, but the last Thursday of the month. He proclaims in his year, uh, and I believe it was in 63. I would say 63 for some reason. Uh, Let me see. 89. I keep saying 63. 89. I think 63 has a little jingle to it. So at 1789, October 3rd, he proclaims it, but then makes it official in November 26th. And he the reason why he did it, the reason why we are today in Thanksgiving, or the last Thursday. His day today is the day. I believe it's the 28th, but his day. Oh, by the way, well, his day would have been 26th, and he established covenant between Christians and Jews, who were coming in and he gave them American citizenship. And so it's the thankfulness that Christians and Jews can be under, and come together and be grateful what the Creator has done for them. So if anyone says if you want to say the Constitution, America, the catalyst, the land is not founded on Christianity. It's founded on Christianity and also Judaism, to be exact, by the very first president, blessing through creating amendments. How powerful the statement is I'm making, for religious freedom, that they would, free of persecutions that would not be tolerated in this land. So yeah, so there you go. And so that means from the very beginning, from the very start, they have fought arduously, and even with the backing of the very first president of the United States of America. Here we are today, and so of course that covenant is blood bond. America's going to stand with Israel, of course, and not only that, what's so beautiful is that the connection is that, yes, God made covenant with Israel, but the very first president of the United States made covenant with Israel. So it's United States who made covenant with Israel, right? So the wisdom is coming from the Father, the covenant holder. Who's your covenant holder? That would be George Washington. He's the one holding the covenant. He holds your covenant. He made covenant with you. He has the wisdom. But now, not Netanyahu, actually, he is taking that wisdom finally. It took him a while. It took the UN or the court. They said which one. Well, it's a court. They took him to court. Palestinians had the ability to take him to court and pushed him, pressured him. Now, and all the weight, he's now calling on that ceasefire. So, does that court have validity? I'd say so. That court does have validity. Hmm. I don't. Let me see. I want to call it the World Court, but let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Uh, um, the ICC. I don't know if that's okay. It says after ICC. Okay, ICC, International International. Okay, hold on. Is the International Criminal Court? Yeah, International Criminal Court in the Nether. Now I know it's in the Netherlands. Okay, I know that much. Yeah. So anyway, that's what's going on. And anyway, so he got a little pressure on him. Of course, you heard me talk about some of this. But anyway, he's got like our current President Biden, made some suggestions. Like, here's some wisdom, and of course, I read through the whole document. I won't go over it in this one. By the way, this is the last day of Scorpio season. This is the last day. We're on the cusp of. So happy birth. Well, tomorrow will be the birthday of the people who are a ficus. So if you're born November 29th, going forward into December, obviously, you are sign number 13, actually. And I will put that in my next title, I believe. I'll put it in my next title. Mm-hmm. Yep. So absolutely. So I just wanted to come in and just say thank you, to everyone, um, you know, for taking the time to come together and just come in and say hi and know that you're moving in the right place. You're in the right direction. Things are going to be okay. That's all this particular live is about, going forward. People, I know it's a little tense, it gets a little hot, but people can work together. People can. They did it biblically. They did it under the most strict God, the most strict God. Then they also can do it today. They can do it in modern times, you know. And it doesn't have to necessarily be because it's Thanksgiving, or that it's towards the end of the year. Everybody's just happy to get through the fiscal, get past this year. It could be many reasons why people, because it's just right. It's just, yeah, people could set aside, the empathy part, the ethical part, and look at the compassion part a little bit more closely and still realize that they're who they still are. That you could be kind and still be who you are. It doesn't diminish who you are. You don't lose you never lose who you are. Hmm. That acts of kindness and thoughtfulness is not parts of weakness, because in order to enact that these days, probably in any form and time in history, in human history, you'd have to be in power to act out of kindness, because you have to be able to protect it. And then they say no good goes unpunished. So, which Elphaba, didn't she learn that lesson? She becomes, because she did a good deed, she became like, the wicked witch of the West. So, Elphaba. So, so people learn their lesson, right? People learn. So that's what we're learning. We're learning today. We're learning that, peoples have pulled together, and many times, even scripturally, people have pulled together, and people are pulling together now to solve world issue, crises. you know. But at the same time, Israel does have a job to do. They had to find culprits. They had to liberate people who, as you say, become captive. It is their duty. It is their duty. It's not only, it goes beyond just the duty of a title, but it's even scripturally duty. They have to free their brother and sister, their companion. They have to, and or liberate them, get them back, as they say, to what do you call it? What's the other one? Um, you know, offer salvation, which means to be set apart, set among, bought. So, or brought back into, redeemed. They had to redeem their citizens. And I respect and understand that. And of course, Americans as well, anybody, but that would be applied to anybody. But as on humanitarian level, but it speaks to both, again, with the covenant with Christian and Jewish people, side by side, just as the traditionally as Canaan and Israel and nations side by side. So we're gonna be just fine. We're gonna work through it. We'll get through this. Don't worry. hmm It is indeed going to come together. So that's this live. I just want to share that. And I'm going to set up the next live, and I will be back. So that's a little bit of what today should be about.